So I'm wondering, is there an official 4 to 5 show dance?
I don't know. You can try flossing. Maybe you will look younger.
That one. So there were people trying to teach me that during a wedding 2 years ago, and I failed miserably. I'm terrible and in executing like multiple things in a row. You can ask when I go to the gym and I have a trainer who supports me. They're like, first you need to do this. Wait, I cannot even do it. Like, first you need to do this and then turn and then up. And then at some point, I'm just doing this with those weights. It's terrible.
I just have this one and I roll my muscles.
Ooh, fancy.
Because I stretch a lot. So.
Ah, nice. So today it's gonna be a good show. I got some Coke again.
Okay, let me close the window because the dog wants to be part of the show.
Aw, poor dog. So happy times on everyone. Thanks for joining. And I just told terrible things about you when you were gone.
It's day like every day. That's nothing special, man.
I
know.
Nothing special. You know how I am. So today we're gonna talk about a very, I think, very cool and unique topic if it comes to what SUVD can do, which is called external identities. And I was thinking,
but you had one with Jan without me, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, there was around the self-service sign-up piece of people, which is part of external identities. But I thought it would be good to just do a full, basically an overview of what we're doing and what does external identities actually mean, right? Because it's. I think today we're gonna. Today we're gonna focus on the premium part of external identities, but it goes further, right? It's not like this. I think if you just tune in, it probably doesn't make sense. Daniel, tell it. You have something you want to say. I can tell.
No, I'm just thinking about all the money people will be paying us.
Oh, really?
I'm being greedy. This is my greedy face.
Yeah, I recognize that face.
Yeah, that's what you see when I talk to our boss every time.
He never does that when I'm talking to him, but
I'm greedy, so I want money from the boss, so you should know.
That's true. But yeah, external identities has a bit of history, right? I remember when we launched it and everyone got so confused around the name.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm still confused, so hopefully you will teach me something because I'm hella confused still.
Yeah, I know. So we still have like something called SUVD B2C, business to consumer, which is it's the same technology, but it's kind of separate from what we're doing with the enterprise piece. And then we have what we call SUVD B2B, which is business to business, which is part of that enterprise piece. So there are like two kind of separate things. Also, if it comes...
Okay, I'm already confused.
I know, I try my best.
Your best is not good enough.
I know. I try so hard. And now I'm thinking about that Linkin Park song, but try so hard. I'm not gonna sing.
Yeah,
it's good, right?
TOA. So no, we cannot sing because we are. We will be claimed by Warner Music or something.
Yeah, but probably
our
singing...
perfect pitches. that's a real threat.
My singing is gonna be so bad that no algorithm is gonna detect it. So it's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's the way to
it's
go.
so off key. That's one thing I regret as a kid. Never got any music lessons, or I did sing in the church choir for a while. Yeah, choir. Sorry, that was what I meant.
So I used
something
to have
different.
I used to have a music
like
teacher
a
throughout. Yeah, I had music classes throughout my high school. I have no sense of rhythm. I am partially deaf. That's why I'm so loud. But the only thing I learned how to support my voice with my diaphragm. So I can talk for hours at end really loudly without getting tired.
I know you. I think that was one of the first things you told me when we met for the first time, which was 4 years ago, something like that. I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Like that.
God damn it! It's been so long.
I know. But so much fun. But we were trying to explain external identities.
You're Your definition of fun is so different than mine, man.
It is. Well, you don't think it's fun?
Yeah, it's fun. It's just sometimes you have to find it's just a job. It's fun. I like being in Europe and being able to work with you and Peter and on more a regular basis because it's tough being across the pond. So.
Yeah, the other way around as well. But yeah. So external identities. Maybe we should just open up the documentation and see what it says to explain.
External identities or B2B?
So external identities. Let's start there.
Okay.
And then move into B2B, right?
I'm making gigantic font, so there we go, 100%.
Awesome. Yeah, so external identities is a set of capabilities that enable organizations to secure and manage any external user, including customers and partners. That explains it all, right? And hi, TRP8472. Good afternoon.
Yeah, Stefan is putting me to sleep by reading Microsoft documentation.
Well, it could be worse. I could read you some RFC or something. It depends. Some of them are fun to read.
My favorite RFCs are the ones that I released on April 1st. The best one is TCP/IP over avian carriers. So how to do TCP/IP with carrier pigeons.
Nice.
And then the one that was a year later was quality of service for TCP/IP over avian carriers. So it was describing how to feed your pigeons for them to be healthy.
Those people have humor. I like those type of things. Yeah.
Very nerdy.
Yeah. So external. So basically, we had Azure AD. We have Azure AD B2C, Azure AD B2B, and they're moving closer to each other.
Yep.
So working with external identities in general. So if it doesn't matter if it's a customer, a partner, or whoever it is, that is basically what we're saying around external identities. So that's the high layer. If you go a little bit down across the OC model, is that down? Yeah. If you go,
it's a session management.
Exactly. If you go into that, you see that it's multiple technologies merged together, but with one shared licensing model. And now I probably got you confused again, but
yeah, I like the tables, right? That's the one, because we have so much stuff that you can do with external identities.
Exactly.
And basically, in my understanding, the entire purpose of this entire thing is I as a company do not have to give you, as the person I'm collaborating with, any username or password. That's the main goal and purpose. So I don't have to have password management, identity governance, and stuff like that. I just basically want to be able to come in with whatever account I deem to be good enough and give you access to my stuff.
Yep. Yeah, that's basically it. So we're done. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
I would press the
roll the outro. Yeah. Oh, to be right back.
Yeah. No.
So, no, I'm not gonna do it. But
it's something that is very alien to most people I talk to with identity access management space, because we as Microsoft, we've been really, really good about training customers. It became almost Pavlovian. It was, hey, you have this wonderful thing called LDAP.
Oh.
If you want to create an app, do an LDAP bind to it, so we will check if username and password is right.
Yep.
We've done it for almost 3 decades now.
I know.
2 decades and change. So LDAP became a de facto identity store standard. Even Azure AD on some level is built on top of LDAP.
It is.
Which is pretty hilarious.
It is. I always try to avoid saying that to people, but yeah.
It was LDAP in 2014. It's irrecognizable at this point. On some level, Exchange has the same database as LDAP, right?
Yeah, I know.
Jet.
Yeah. It's and that's the core layer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically because it's object database, it's easily referenceable, so you can query it really quickly. That's the only benefit. That's why we use LDAP.
Let's not talk about the disadvantages of using it nowadays, but that's.
So basically, if I don't give you, so imagine that I'm a company, I will not use Contoso or Fabricam because it's more confusing than clearing up. So what if I wanted to work with Stefan van der Wiele, what could I use to give you access to my stuff? What would you have to prove that you are who you say you are?
We are basically, you did that at one of the first sessions, right? We were in the same meeting, and you just created an account for me and gave me my password, right?
Yeah.
So that could.
But I don't want to manage your passwords. It's too hard.
You're so lazy. Come on, manage my password.
I'm a millennial.
It's fun.
I'm a geriatric millennial. So
yeah, that's no. We want to leave that password somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So that's we want to. So if I always use A and B with companies, but your company B, I'm company A. I already have an account at company A, and they already looking after my password, or hopefully they're supporting passwordless methods, but that's a different story. And then company B just wants to share data. We don't want that management overhead of those accounts, those passwords, password reset, making sure that there's a help desk that you can call when someone forgets their password.
Yeah.
And then we haven't even stepped into the security area, right? Because it's an external user, but it's still part of your internal infrastructure. And if that external user decides that password 123 is good enough, and it gets leaked, they still have access to data there. So yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. So what would be another option there?
The way I used to describe it when it was still called B2B, I used to describe it as a proof of possession of an email address. Instead of proof of knowledge of the password that I have in my system and me as a verifier having it, you would be proving that you possess access to a specific email address that is attached to your organization that I bootstrapped with a trust and say, okay, because you have proven that you have that email address and it's attached to something semi-trustworthy, I will grant you basic level of access.
Yep.
I will allow you to authenticate, not necessarily authorize you to access something, but just authenticate.
And that's a good point as well, where you're separating authentication and authorization, right? Because I think that's also a key thing of B2B, how it works.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to care about your username and password, or however you sign in. I have a specific, I trust your organization to do so, or I put in some extra measures to make sure that you can verify who you are. And I only care about authorization, about the data that I'm sharing and who has access in what type of way. So that's cool.
Yeah, and then you audit everything and administer stuff. So you have all 4 pillars of IAM.
Yeah.
So basically the level of access I'm granting you is inside of the Azure portal, because we like tangible stuff. So let's learn by doing. So in your tenant, you will have this wonderful thing called user settings.
Yep.
In user settings, you will have external user settings. And here in the first part, you say you are figuring out what your guest users, what your external identities coming into your tenant can do in your tenant, and who can add new guests, and whether or not we have any restrictions about who can be added.
Yep.
So let's go from top to bottom. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. And I think also, like, if I remember correctly, there's a piece here that we just went from public preview to GA, right?
Email, I don't know which one.
The restrictive, the very restrictive mode.
The restriction, the guest restrictions, yeah.
That's one. So it would be good to start there, because that's basically just out. It was already there in public preview, but now it's GA.
I think the easiest way to show it would be to have a guest user inside of our tenant. What do you think?
Ooh, yeah, that sounds like a really good one. Hey, Ultimanic, thanks for joining.
Hey, so we will invite a new guest into our tenant, because I'm an administrator. I'm a super duper administrator.
You are.
I will invite my personal Office 365 account.
Okay, sounds like a good plan. How was it? Hi, Krusty Biscuit 69. Thanks for joining. Today we're talking about that made me laugh as well. Today we're talking about external identities, and then explicitly or basically the B2B part of it. So what we're doing right now is we're going to invite an external user to our Azure AD tenant, because we want to share data with this user.
Yeah, sit down and listen. This is my Office 365 account. I used to own a company that was called Domel.pro. Then we're not blocking sign-in. We can fill in. Basically, what I'm doing right now can be done via API or any automation.
Yep.
We have graph connectors, everything. The very bad part about the API, it has about 1.5 second latency of calling it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No, that's something
That's
to keep
the
in
biggest
mind.
downside. When you call an invitation API, it takes about a second to get a return message that the invitation was successful.
Oh, and if you're going to script that script, if you're going to bulk invite thousands of users, that's going to take a long time.
For inviting a bunch of users, you should be using bulk operations in the portal.
So you should create a CSV file.
CSV file. So I'm inviting Daniel 1.
Okay. Daniel 1. And then you're Daniel 0.
Yeah, this one is Daniel.pro. And it will be an external user.
Yep.
And we will see in the portal that it was created by invitation. It's not synced. And I will open my inbox quickly. And I got an email message like that, right? I got invited by hybrid admin. Sit down and listen. Come on, Diablo 4 is coming out eventually.
And Diablo. Also, if you don't want to send out those emails, but just ask someone to join through the API, you can control all of that.
Yes, right? You don't have to send that email. And the funny thing is, if someone yells at me, I cannot get in the profile, there should be a link.
Yeah.
For invitation. Let me find it.
I remember that too.
There should be one.
Which you can share, right? And that's also when you use the API and you don't...
Invitation accepted, no, right? It means I didn't click the link in that message. So I can click the manage invitations. I can resend it. And it will be resent to me.
And you should also be able, to get the URL there.
After I generate a new one.
This is also through the API. If I would invite, so if I want to do like my own email and send it from my own email address and customize the email, I can use the API to invite people and say, don't send an email, and I get the link which I can use in a template.
Yeah, honestly, that's why it takes so long to call the API, because this one needs to be generated. This one is very particular because you can convert your synchronized guests into external users.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if you had an LDAP directory with your external users and you sync them through AD Connect, or you created them as cloud-only accounts and you manage their passwords, and you want to stop managing their passwords, you can reset their invitation status. Or you can basically say they redeemed the invite, but their account got deleted and recreated in their source tenant. You can basically refresh, start from scratch, and that user will not be recreated, which means all the permissions, site memberships, application assignments will be retained for that user. It's basically a trust reset.
But you can also do this on member users then. So you could pick a member user and then go to the redemption status and reset it.
Yeah. You should be able to do
because I honestly never did that.
Let's see.
So now I'm very curious.
Manage B2B collaboration.
Yep.
Yeah, if you have email address that is from a verified domain, that mail attribute is from external thing, you can reset the invitation and you can put the invitation in here.
I see. So the email address of that external user should not be a verified domain of this tenant.
So let's find someone that is not directory synced. So let's find Jan, right?
Yep. We're going to modify.
And if we wanted to manage Jan's settings, we need to.
Yeah, we first need to update the email attribute, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jan, abc.com, right?
For Jan at ABC. Those are always interesting. Could not update. Why? Tell me why. Another song.
Oh, because we assigned him an Exchange email address, Exchange license already. So Exchange owns the email attribute.
So if we could just create a new cloud user, then we can
try. Let me just do the licensing because let's see. I don't remember what my licensing rules are because Jan's account should have licenses assigned.
Oh, I think we built that. Then we built that.
Group-based licensing.
Group-based licensing, yeah.
That's how many things do you have to remember about, right?
Right, I know. But this is if you're an admin, if you're an IT pro and doing these type of things, you need. So we're basically part of the group that's building this stuff, and we already struggling at some point. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you're just gonna remove the license now, and then
I don't know. Let me see.
Would it be just quicker to create a new cloud account?
But the licenses are assigned through dynamic group membership.
Oh, so if we create a new one, yeah.
Yeah, we created a dynamic group.
Okay. I'm gonna grab another Coke, and then I'm gonna stop asking those stupid questions. Okay.
So yeah, this is basically there is a very fun feature about reset invitation status. I love that search. Ooh, right?
Yeah.
Boom. And what does it do? Reset an email. Email address is added to either mails or other emails property of a user object.
Okay. So
most of the time it's something that got synchronized, right? So the user got synchronized as the .on Microsoft because their user principal name was in non-verified domain. Is the thing that we did fixing your user account in the first episode, right? You were Stephen at 425show.onmicrosoft.com. We changed your UPN to something that was understood by AAD, and it fixed on next sync.
Exactly.
If you don't own the domain, so it's Stephen at Microsoft.com, I don't own it. So if I reset the invite, the synchronized user will get converted to an external user. And then you just redeem the invite. And
so it's basically cutting the cord with the on-prem environment.
It's changing the authentication method of the account.
So it's still, so if I change, so that account comes from AD. So if I would update something in AD, does that user object still get updated after I do this?
Yes, attributes of that user object will get updated. Yes. The thing is, it's basically it's the association of the way you do authentication. For the regular synced accounts, it will be that you're doing either password hash sync or federation or pass-through authentication or any of those. When you reset the invitation status on a user, it changes the user's authentication method to be external.
Okay.
That's why very often we have this confusing term. It's member versus guest.
Yeah.
Local versus external.
Yep. So. Okay, so and then you have, so this is basically multiple layers, right? So the account is still in a synchronized state, which is not talking about anyway how they do the authentication. It's talking about how their data, their attributes are maintained. That will stay the same, but the thing that will change is how they authenticate. They're not going to authenticate again with their local password. It's going to be redirected to a different.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Cool.
You are basically marrying together the way of managing your external accounts inside of your own directory without having to authenticate them inside of sourced from that directory. It's the best of both worlds, honestly.
Yeah.
Because we shouldn't throw the baby out with the proverbial bathwater, right? Most of you and us already have some kind of Excel spreadsheet with people we work with.
Yep.
So you see, I'm authenticating to the tenant with JP's and Christos's ugly mugs.
We should update that background with our ugly mugs.
No, it's way funnier when it looks like a mugshot for JP.
So this is the account you just invited, right?
Yes, this is my personal Office 365 account.
Yeah.
Let's do yes. And because my account got redeemed, it should send me to the My Apps. Yeah, the new one. So if I go into users, you see this one already got filled. It looks different now. It's not Daniel 1.
So it's taking attributes from the other tenant.
Yes.
To populate
it takes two attributes specifically. It takes display name.
Mm-hmm.
So first name, last name are not taken.
I see. Yeah. They're still DFs.
It takes display name, and it takes email and alternate email attributes.
Okay, so those are
only
coming.
Those two.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask a question around if you don't have Azure AD, but we're gonna come to that later. So yes. I wanna park that for now.
Yeah. Basically, if you don't have Azure AD, most of the time we will ask you to create a Microsoft account, Live ID.
Yeah,
okay. Most of the time, unless you configure something else, and we'll be going through something else. So this is all the apps I have access to, but the beauty of it, I can go to the aad.portal.azure.com, and that's where we can see. Oh, it will ask me to do MFA. Where's my phone?
So in the meanwhile, if you want to look into the documentation yourself, I put a very short link on the screen right now, and I will give you some time to remember the link to copy it.
I need to go to a specific tenant. In this one, I shouldn't be asked to do MFA.
Okay. So your phone is somewhere not close.
It's in the other room.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's in the other room. So you see, this is the Azure portal. So the way I set up the Azure Active Directory with default permissions in the user settings will be reflected inside of Microsoft Graph and Azure portal and stuff like that. So if we go into external collaboration settings, it says whether the guests have guests and external users, user type equals guest, specifically have permissions to read the entire directory, or whether or not they have limited read. Basically, they can only see display name, email addresses of other users, and not much else. Or do you want to basically whack them in the face, not being able to read anything? So let's see what the experience is like. You see, this one is access denied. Already, I cannot see my tenant licensing, but I should be able to see users.
Okay, let's see if it's going to happen. And hey, Jake Summers, happy Wednesday to you too. And thank you for joining. We're talking about Azure AD B2B today. Yeah, you don't have access to this data.
Yeah, so basically, because I have only access to limited subset of data, I probably can look up only users that I know emails of and stuff like that.
So that's what that setting does in your tenant. And what is it on by default when I would create
the default. Tenant? We are on default right now.
So this is the default.
So partially limited, yes.
So we didn't
touch it yet.
So you would be able. So if we would put this user in a group, this user is able to see some.
So see members of that group, yes.
See members of that group, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and read their attributes and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then after that, we have, the default in this one depends on the date and time of creation of your tenant. If your tenant was created prior to 2021, this will be the default.
Oh, okay. So that changed over time.
Yes, that changed over time. But because during the creation of the tenant settings are applied, we cannot change settings on you except for a few exceptions, like we are enabling continuous access evaluation on you on every tenant pretty soon.
Yep.
And this one is the most restrictive, so users wouldn't be able to even see members of other groups they are a member of. This one basically breaks teams.
I was just about to ask, what does this break? Because there should be a reason why there's the other
breaks teams. Okay. It breaks teams. So if you get invited into a team and you want to mention someone in the channel, you cannot do it. You cannot look them up. You need to you cannot mention. You cannot search. All people pickers get busted and stuff like that.
But the other stuff would work then when I put it like this. Okay, so there's a
sign in will just work. Yeah, you will get access to the apps that you have access to.
So you just need to keep in mind that if you want to put it on that most restrictive setting, that there's a limited experience on some of the things.
Oh yeah, But if you don't care about Office 365 or collaboration, but you just want to give people access to 2 or 3 apps in here, you will be fine.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, guest. So this is about when user gets into your tenant, what can they do? The next one is guest invite settings. So which means who can perform that operation I did in the portal? Who can add a user as a guest? Who can go to Teams?
Tweams. That's the new version, right? That's what we're going to announce.
Hash. So who can go to Teams Microsoft.com and add people to a team, new external users, right? In Teams, you also have to have additional external collaboration settings. And by default, every user can add a member person as a guest in your tenant. So if someone goes into Teams, someone shares a file in SharePoint Online, someone adds a user to a modern Office 365 group, someone is a group owner and adds an external users through external users into a group, it should be fine. Oh, you see. Why are you sending me Dogecoins?
I don't know. When did I do that?
I have no clue.
I actually bought some and then it collapsed.
No,
we're not going to talk about that.
No. And then
it was only 15 euros. It was not that much. Now it's 6.
Yeah. So other settings you will have in here. So basically everyone can add anywhere ever. So new guest users will be created. So for reference, for your folks' reference on a call, in our Microsoft tenant, we have 320,000 regular users. We have about 1.3 million guests.
Wow.
Yeah, about 1.3 million. Because whenever a Microsoft person goes and adds one of our wonderful customers to a team, we share a file with them from SharePoint Online. Those two main scenarios contribute to a large majority of those guests, those external users. Yeah. And when it turns out that guest gets busted, we need to open a ticket to our internal help desk to basically click that reset button for them or delete and re-invite them.
Interesting. And I think if you look at this guest invite settings, they don't look like there's nothing. What I find quite interesting, maybe good feedback, what I'm just realizing, is that if you press learn more, does it mention that this influences more than just SUAD? Because what we see right now is that if I'm an SUAD admin and I'm like, I wanna put in like protection or something. But I'm not aware that if I do this, I'm going to break other experiences as well.
I have no clue. I didn't look onto that documentation in a long while. And we have really good track record on freshness of our docs. This one was updated 5 days ago.
Wow, yeah. And also, I think good for the people on the call, if you figure something out, this is all driven by GitHub. But also, I get sometimes asked, like, there's something not correct on this page, can you update it? And I'm like, go to the page and just provide feedback. That's really the quickest way and update the documentation.
So if you click view all page feedback, it will open how many features have been opened, feature requests and changes. So this one is not outdated since feature change, right?
Yeah, there's a whole was broken. Yeah, and there's a whole team behind this, which would basically help.
Very smart, very fun team to work with.
Yeah. So I even when I saw something wrong recently in the verifiable credential update, and for me I was like, I can ping someone on Teams, but let's just follow the process.
Yeah,
so I posted a comment, and it was resolved within a day.
Yes, it was very often. So I think SLA is like 5 days to get a response, or at least for triage, because sometimes we need to verify whether it's a bug, we need to ask a feature owner, we need to do a couple of things in the backend, but those GitHub things are monitored constantly.
Yep.
And the first comment needs to happen within 24 hours. That it has been first acknowledgement.
Okay, so someone needs the response within 24 hours on that comment, So
it's a very cool system.
I want to say hi to Grumph TNT. He said something around exclusive.
Yeah, because we were talking about Tweams. It's an exclusive. Okay. Yeah, Tweams exclusive. Yeah.
I'm gonna open Twitter now with hashtag Tweams and see how many people will pick it up. Should we register tweet?
I wish we had leaks about the Windows event.
I know.
I wish we had leaks.
The one thing I found very interesting at first was that Apple documentation, which would say like this like Cloud Sync is for Windows 11, and then they changed it to 11.1 because they were actually talking about a version of the Cloud Sync or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't. To be honest, after I read the rumors around, we don't have a clue if it's true. But
we have no clue.
When I
know a couple of exciting releases that are coming in our space, but
yeah, exactly. But outside of that, no. But I did an external search for Windows 11. Didn't find anything.
Internal searchers for code names are really fun. I found out about some hardware revisions like 6 months before they came out.
Cool. But yeah, let's go.
So inclusive. So basically, anyone can invite guests. So you can have chain invitations. So now I, as a guest in that tenant, can add other guests into that tenant.
Yeah.
So I can invite whomever I want.
Yeah, because that sounds very tricky, to be honest.
But that's the default right now because because you can have authorization policies on your apps. Authentication is not a big deal. Having some junky guests in your tenant shouldn't be a big deal. It's just aesthetics. So at the end of the day, that's why it's the default. If you don't want to have chain invitations, the next setting will make sure that only users that are members in your tenant, so also external users designated as user type equals member, will be allowed to invite new guests.
Yep.
And only admins in 3 specific roles, right?
But also, I think it's good to explain like that guest user which will come into your tenant. First of all, the split between authorization and authentication. That object is only being used for authorization, and it uses the authentication, the other object on the other side, for authentication.
Yep. Yes, sir. That's why when I went into the specific tenant, you didn't see me having to do MFA.
That's also a good one. Yeah.
Right? Because in my home tenant, my Office 365, Daniel at domel.pro, had to do MFA in my home tenant. So then I went into 425 show tenant specifically. I didn't have to do MFA. The first factor authentication was good enough of a proof to prove that I possess an access to that email address because I clicked that link from that email address.
Yep. So
that's why I didn't have to do MFA.
Yeah, that's the proof of email. Let me see. So TRP8472, if you can post that URL regarding identity config, it would be helpful. Was that the documentation one, I think?
The documentation or the user settings one? I'm sorry.
The very long one. I put it on the screen. I can put it in the chat as well. The one before. Yeah, I think that's the one you meant. Just give me a sec. I'm going to put it in the chat.
You do it. I don't have Twitch open, so
the one before. There you go. I'm gonna put it. It should be in the chat.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So
cool.
I always being facetious enough. If you type in into anything except for Bing, you type in Azure AD B2B, you will land into documentation.
I always say use your favorite search engine and then leave it up to that.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo if you're a privacy nut. And
I never use that.
It's decent. It's good.
It is? Okay. Maybe I should give it a try. Hey, Wayne. Hello from South Africa. Thank you for joining.
Great. Thanks for joining through YouTube.
Yeah, that's cool. And so today we're talking about external identities and B2B, and we're going through the settings and also talking about what the settings mean and how it's important to always, when you get a new tenant, to look at these and realize what would be the impact of changing such a setting and what those settings are. You're going to show something.
I'm searching for something. I don't know if you saw that, but some of those settings you can dump into configs, into fun things through something called Azure AD Assessment.
Okay.
It's a fairly new GitHub repo that you can dump the configuration and you can assess against best practices. In my opinion, default settings are good enough, but if you don't want to have clutter in your tenant and you don't want to disallow any external sharing in Office 365, that's where the fourth option comes in.
Yep. And that's also the one thing I wanted to say with like the split between authorization and authentication is that if you do not assign something by default to that new guest object, like some permissions, they cannot do anything. Although
nothing.
They can maybe like enumerate the users that are in there depending on the settings you put in. But next to that, they cannot access any data if you don't explicitly assign it. But probably a lot of customers have like a dynamic group or something that will assign things to external users. So then something does happen.
For example, if I wanted to grant access to ServiceNow to my wonderful guest account, right? I can assign that user here. Users and groups. And this is not this one. Way too many Daniels.
Yeah, we should come up with different names.
But it's the best name, man.
No, Stefan is the best name. You know that by now, right? Okay. Yep.
So within a few minutes. Oh, sneeze coming.
Oh. Bless you.
Ooh, allergies, sorry.
Yeah, that's that time of year, right? But the cool thing is, I think also good to explain is that even that's an external user, it's an authorization object. If you have, for example, ServiceNow or Salesforce or any other app that support provisioning, we are going to provision that user into that external app when that's needed. And you can even specify a specific role that they will get in that app.
Exactly. So this one is a good default. I like the defaults. If you want to be more restrictive, you can do it. Enable guest self-service sign up for user flows. This is something that you did with Jan two weeks ago.
Yep.
So you had a comprehensive view. That you have to opt into the experience and attach it to the app and all that amazing stuff. So sometimes just having an ability to control who can access new external users and what those external users can do in my tenant is not good enough. That's where our collaboration restrictions come in. It's basically which email addresses are allowed to be invited. Right? You have allow anyone. Allow any recipient address to be invited. We have a deny list, so we know that Microsoft.com is a malicious company. I don't want people from Microsoft.com in my tenant.
Especially the Microsoft.com is a malicious company.
Yes, because this is definitely a phishing.
It is a phishing domain. Everyone should add it to the deny list.
The thing is, I wouldn't use that deny list, honestly.
Okay.
This was very requested. This one has a limitation of size. I think it's like a few hundred of those.
Okay.
And second, this one is shared across all of Office 365. So you also have that external collaborations allow and deny lists inside of SharePoint Online. It's the same object. You edit them in one place, it will be reflected in both.
Yeah. I can imagine a use case, for example, where you have enabled everyone to invite everyone, including guests can invite other guests. Did you maybe want to enter your competitor or something?
Yes, you want to work. You know that you are allowed to work only with a specific government agency.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. We get so many beautiful portals.
External identity.
You were looking for
working with clients, right? Our jobs would be so much easier if we didn't have to work with customers and clients.
True.
So in SharePoint Online.
Thank you for joining. You know, I cannot remember the last time I've been to this portal.
I like it. I like it a lot. This is honestly a little bit better. I wish it had a decent tenant switcher, so you can switch directories and stuff. But
isn't that something that is somewhere on a list?
Yes, it's very high on the list.
Dark mode. I love dark mode. I actually, but the Azure portal also has dark mode, right? Oh, so much better for my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, look at this. So office policy, servicing customization, and tenant. Let's not go there. Okay. And here you can do allow and deny lists. I remember when those used to be called blacklist and whitelist.
Yeah, that is true. Anymore. Yeah. Much more inclusive.
Yes. So just for the people in here, let's do.
Yeah, dark mode. Bold.io is also mentioning it. It's begging for you to click the dark mode and be a real taggy.
Yeah.
Bold, are you also the type of person that would put your shell or your terminal with black background and green letters? I'm wondering.
Oh, I don't have terminal app installed on this one. I have translucent terminal on my work machine. I put translucent, semi-translucent PNG in the background.
Oh, that's nice.
The unicorn.
Oh, yeah. Unicorn.
Yeah.
Quake mode with custom background. Yep, Bolt is doing the same thing.
It's like awful hackers movie, right? So these are basically the settings.
For me, it now feels like it's black. It feels like we're looking at a different portal now. Okay. Yeah. So those are the default settings. Let's dive into the identity provider piece.
So basically, there is like 20% of your collaboration base that might not have Office 365 accounts, right? And if you want to collaborate with those people, and if they happen not to have Azure AD account, by default, we will ask them to create a Live ID account. Let's just say we give them an Xbox Live account for all intents and purposes. But sometimes you might not want to, right? So basically, you can say that if system doesn't recognize an email address that you invite person with, we can walk them through email one-time password. So this one aligns perfectly with external authentication is a proof of possession of an email address.
Yep.
I don't have a viral user right now to show how to folks how it would work right now. Do you have one right now?
A viral user? No, I don't have one.
You can do the burn email addresses thingy.
Oh, right? Yeah. Should I?
I don't know if you want to show it. Basically, this one, most of the time you want to have this one turned on. We will turn that on for all of our customers in the beginning of 2022.
Yeah. So maybe good to explain viral a bit what we mean with that, because this is basically the default setting currently, and this is going to replace it. So that means, go ahead.
So I will show you something. New guest user. AAA, email address, Domel. This is basically like Hotmail in Poland, right? Very super free. It's my oldest email address. I barely use it anymore. And
isn't that the same as the phone, the mobile provider, O2?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, completely no.
Oh, interesting.
No. It's completely local, and they were bought out a couple of times and stuff like that. So if I go back here, let's minimize this one. Let's close this one, and I will go back here. I think I edge in. Let's browse as guest, and it will.
I guess that's. Pzilsta is mail?
Mail, yeah. It's Poczta.
Poczta, okay. I learned another Polish word today.
Oh gosh darn it. I need to find it in my password manager. Give me a second.
Sure. So basically so did you disable the one-time code?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. But I have a pretty good guess that this account exists somewhere.
Okay, so it's probably in a viral tenant then.
Oh gosh darn it! Where's my Firefox?
I think I do have a. Yes, I have an email address that you could use.
Okay.
If you want to try that.
Okay, let's see here. There we go, Bitwarden.
You found it. Awesome.
Yeah, too many browsers. This is my personal machine, so I use Firefox as my primary email account, primary browser. So you see, I got invited. This is very alien, right?
Yeah, I was
accept
admin.
invitation.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, that doesn't exist. So it's one-time password.
Yep. So that's the tick box, the thing that we enabled. So what it's going to do now, right? It's going to send you a one-time code to that email address to verify that you're the owner of the email.
I go to my inbox. I need to press the send code button first. Look how many commercials, for crying out loud.
That's why it's free.
That's why it's free.
You should then install an ad blocker. Oh.
And I got in with email one-time password. This one session will be valid for 24 hours or something like that. Let's cancel out of this one because I don't want to use the email OTP.
Okay.
Where's my edge?
So this is how we would say like the recommended experience right now, like that one-time.
Yeah, that's the best, right? Yeah. I love email OTP. I freaking love this thing. All identity providers. Again, I don't know what's going on Wednesdays, but we have throttling issues again today. I saw
it's interesting. Right? Maybe it's just because we're both in Europe.
There we go.
Okay, so the one-time passcode. So that's the thing that we've turned on, and that's going to be enabled by default early next year, right? You said.
Yes, early next year.
So if we're going to turn it off, we're going to go into the previous experience.
Yes. Let's wait for a hot second. So I will resend the invite.
Yep. Because now you already clicked the link of the invite, so you can.
Yeah, I will resend it just to be sure, right?
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I found it interesting how the resend invite is a radio box button thing.
I have no clue.
Shouldn't it just be just like a button?
Probably we did some A/B testing, and it turns out the radio button is easier on admins. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This would be my educated guess. So I already got the email. Please read that email carefully. Of course, I always read those emails carefully.
It's funny that Bull.io was thinking the same thing about that radio box thing.
I work for Microsoft, so and this is the old.
This is a different experience. So you don't have an account, and we're going to create one.
We are going to create a live ID for you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And does this account have a live ID, or did we check?
No, never. Okay. Never created one. And this one is because o2.pl was designated as a social domain. This is always a hit and miss.
I know.
For the longest time, we used to create unmanaged Azure AD tenants for those. There is one for wp.pl, for sure, I know, Interia.pl, which are basically email hosting services here in Poland.
There's also one for, what's the big one in Russia again? The email provider.
I have no clue.
Yandex.ru.
Yandex,
wasn't also on the list. So instead of creating a Microsoft account, we would create a firewall tenant. Yeah. Maybe good to explain that process a bit. So we actually have a list of like shared email providers, like this one or what I said, Yandex or any other. And basically, if we detect that it's on that list, instead of so what we would do then, ask you to create a Microsoft account, so an Xbox or.
You can tell by having signup.live.com instead of signup.onmicrosoft.com, right? Signup.live creates consumer accounts. Signup.onmicrosoft creates basically email verified viral users.
Yeah,
which kind of sucks because you have to create another password that you cannot use anywhere except for Azure.
Yeah, and And that's so there were a lot of hidden tenants for specific domains, right, out there.
Yeah, I still find them.
Yeah. Emails.
But viral tenant shouldn't exist anymore. No, it's not emails.vodka.
Is that actually an extension, .vodka?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I want to register Stefan.vodka.
TLD.
Okay, let's see.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, is it cheap or?
It's probably like €15 per year.
That's still
for your lab environments. You can expense them. You can.
Oh, there's gonna be a new lab environment which will have the .vodka domain registration. That's very professional of me, right? Oh, which one is that? Marijuana?
Yeah. I think there is no weed one.
Oh, maybe that's on a black list. Although, why there's vodka? Why isn't there a weed?
Because vodka is legal in most of the world. Weed isn't.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, I was considering bringing some CBD oil from Seattle to Poland, but I would be arrested on the border. It's basically like drug smuggling.
I know. Interesting, right?
Right?
Yeah. How that is different in different countries.
Yeah. So let's flip it back on. Let's flip back on this one. We can close because this is the guest.
Yeah.
What did I do?
You destroyed it. You broke it.
There we go. Gosh darn
cool.
it. Too many browsers, too many tabs.
That's what you get like during this show. We're going left and right and everywhere, and then we're just opening stuff and you forget about it.
Yeah.
And that's
so
cool.
Let's turn back on the identity provider. So there are a couple of things you can also allow your people to do. If you know they will be coming with Gmail addresses, you can establish a federation with basically Gmail, and specifically at Gmail and at googlemail.com addresses. So if I invited daniel.stefaniak@gmail.com, which happens to be one of my email addresses, I would be also able to just basically do sign in with Google. If I did domel@facebook.com, which is my Facebook email address, I still have one for some reason, probably because I have Oculus Rift at home, and I need it for Oculus Quest. And you can also do something called direct federation. For the time being, you can basically say that your external users, your guests that come from a specific unverified domain, so for scenarios that you would fall into Microsoft account creation or email OTP, you can send an account sign-in attempt to a specific IDP. We are thinking about allowing you to override that, but today you can't.
Yeah, so that's good to keep in mind. And also, if I don't configure Google Direct Federation, what would happen if I invite someone with a Gmail address?
Wanna see?
Yep, let's try that. By the way, Stefan.vodka is still available, but it's €33 a year.
Expensive, I'm telling you.
I know, I should do that.
Stefan.vodka.
And now someone probably is going to register it and going to sell it to me for thousands of euros.
No, we're not that popular.
Because they know that I can expense it now. So
yeah.
Okay, so let's invite the Gmail. Cool.
Yeah, I sent the Gmail thingy. This is wrong Firefox. I need to take it to the second screen. Give me a second. And Windows Shift Arrow goes to the second screen.
Oh, I knew about that one, but I never use it. I just drag and drop. I'm that type of person.
You're such a window kid.
I am. I grow up. Oh, by the way, no, my first computer had DOS on it.
My first computer had Windows Vista on it. So.
Wow.
So I'm doing redirections.
Yeah.
I'm doing a bunch of redirections. So I click this link. I still have a session, so let me start. Let me copy that URL. Copy link. Browse as guest.
Okay. So this is the Gmail. Someone with a Gmail account when we don't have direct federation configured.
Oh, I might have
Google.
created the Gmail account forever. But you see, it's login.live.com.
Yep.
It asks me to do basically let's see if my regular.
Don't reuse. That's good. That's good. Don't reuse your passwords.
Huh. And it's asking for MFA. All of my accounts are MFA protected.
So and if we would have configured, and we're running out of time, but if we would configure Google Federation, you would have been redirected to Google to just sign in with your Google account and then redirect it back. Yep.
Yeah, it's like when you go to Expedia.com and you have sign in with Google option there, right?
It's the same type of button, yeah. And setting it up isn't that hard, right? You do need a developer account.
No, you just need a Gmail account. You don't even need a developer account.
Oh, really?
You just need a Gmail account, yeah.
And only the admin need to set it up, right?
Yes, you set it up once. You basically create an account in Google becomes a claims provider for your AAD accounts.
So would you say that if I would start with Azure AD and external identity / B2B, one of the first things I should do to set this up is set up that federation with Google?
Set up the Gmail federation, set up the email OTP, and do not touch direct fed unless you really have to.
Yeah.
It's very complex to set up. I wouldn't be doing direct fed if I were.
And on the external user settings, just leave them at the default for now, right? The medium
limit the visibility. Yeah, the medium settings. Yeah.
Exactly, those are good. Cool. Okay, so I think we did a good coverage, or that's my opinion. I think we're awesome.
Before we started, you heard my saying about opinions, right?
Yeah, I know. But I think that this gives a good overview of like how B2B as part of external identities is working and what are the benefits. So basically means that you can share data with other people without caring about their passwords, identity, sign-on, but you're still in control around like authorization because you have that object and you can do the authorization.
Oh yeah.
And then we have the multiple ways of getting external users in. If they already have Azure AD, it's pretty easy. That federation is there by default, so no exchanging of certificates and updating them and keeping that into touch. It's all built in. And then on the other one, when they're using Gmail, we can set up the federation and do that as well.
Yeah.
So
and the thing is, sometimes we see customers and people generally over focusing about what lives on the other side of that proof of possession of an email address trust. Instead of focusing on that, if I were you, I would put your effort into having good authorization policy instead of over focusing how users authenticate. Because even though I reuse passwords, because I do, I have MFA'd everything. If a service doesn't support MFA, I delete my account.
Yeah, I think you tweeted about it. Or was that someone else? I think it was someone else. No, there was someone else.
It was Rob de Jong.
Oh, it was Rob. Yeah. He didn't want to create an account at a service provider because they didn't support MFA, which I think is a good practice to do.
In perfect scenario, if your service provider supports one of those, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I freaking love those. I love those. They are so good.
It's somewhere. Yeah, so with a nice hole in it.
Yeah, because it's a keychain. You put it. I would honestly. What I will do when I come back home to the US, I will attach one of the Apple AirTags to it, and I will just use it.
And then you're gonna buy that very expensive thing around the Apple about the AirTag, which you need to connect it to something.
No.
That's the one thing I think is supposed to, but we're not talking about AirTags, but I think it's just
go on that
it's so Apple. It's like you buy the AirTag, but you can put it in your pocket, and that's it. But everyone want to put it on their keychain, but then you need to buy something extra. It's like selling phones without a charger. But that's you can have.
I don't need chargers. I am totally behind not including a wall socket inside of the thing. And my charger these days is a wireless one either way. So I like the convenience of putting my phone in a cradle. I need charging, especially when I watch YouTube before falling asleep. So yeah, just put it.
Yeah, that's nice. Cool. So, so Krusty Biscuit 69, you are awesome too. Thanks for joining. Hopefully, you will join. So we have the developer version of the 4 to 5 show again on Friday, and then we are back with the IT Pro version next week on Wednesday, same time, same channel.
Yeah.
And
then we can go on a time. Next week is my last show before me going on vacation, and after we're back from vacation, I'm lining up some friendly guests. And we were supposed to be with Samantha today.
Yeah,
but she will be coming back. We are not letting her go for sure. She's way too fun and too awesome to have around. Not to let her go and not be part of the show.
And we, what you said, we have more guests coming up. When you're gonna be out of office, I'm definitely gonna find some replacements. Although you're unreplaceable, Daniel.
Oh, I'm replaceable for sure. The best thing that has ever happened to me after changing my teams, when I go on vacation for a month, no one misses me. That's the best feeling ever. I have an autoresponder that straight up says, I'm on vacation. I will be back on X. If you want me to read your email, resend it to me after I'm back. Because after I'm back from vacation, I right-click my inbox and do mark as read. It's cathartic, dude.
I actually do kind of the same, but I move it into another folder, and I'm like, when it's important, you will probably resend.
It messes with my searches. I know I'm good with Outlook searching. So.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, so let's rate a channel before we're gonna leave. We can choose between Coded Live or InstaFluff.
Let's do InstaFluff was the last time. Let's do Coded Live.
Coded Live?
We did we did InstaFluff last time.
I know. Yeah. So it's gonna be Coded Live. And thanks everyone for watching. Have an awesome day, and we will catch you next week. And I'm gonna
enable email OTP. Enable email OTP. It's freaking awesome.
That is really important piece. And then in the chat, we do have the link to the documentation on external identities. Before I can almost press the rate button, but just gonna put it on the screen one more time. There's gonna be a quiz next week. You need to remember this URL out of the top of your head. I'm pretty sure there's an aka.ms short link for it, but yeah.
I think we should start giving people on the show discounts to our identity exam, but let's think about it.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a nice cliffhanger. I'm going to press the rate now button, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Right.